Stop. Before you scroll away for even a second, take a deep breath and listen carefully, because this message was not meant for everyone, and if you are hearing these words right now, it is not an accident, it is not random, and it is not just another video passing through your screen, because there are thousands of people scrolling at this exact moment, yet somehow your eyes stopped here, your mind paused here, and your heart felt something different when you saw this message, and that is because sometimes God places a message directly in the path of the person who needs it the most, and today that person might be you, yes you, the one who has been silently fighting battles that nobody else can see, the one who smiles in front of people but feels exhausted inside, the one who has been asking questions in the quiet of the night, wondering if anyone truly understands what you are going through. And God wants you to know something right now that could change the way you see everything happening in your life, because the truth is this message was not meant for everyone scrolling through the internet today, it was meant for the one person who has been feeling lost, confused, and tired of pretending that everything is fine, and if that person is you, then you need to listen closely to every word that follows, because sometimes a single message arrives at the exact moment when a heart is ready to receive it, and that moment might be happening for you right now. There have been days recently when you felt like giving up, days when the pressure of life felt heavier than usual, moments when you wondered if your prayers were being heard at all, and maybe you even asked yourself why things seem so difficult when all you have been trying to do is move forward. And yet even in those moments when it felt like nobody noticed your struggle, God noticed. Every tear you hid from others was seen. Every silent prayer whispered in the darkness was heard, and every moment when you chose to keep going even though you felt weak was recorded in heaven, because the strength you have been showing in the middle of your storm has not gone unnoticed. You might think that the challenges you are facing right now are random, that they are just unfortunate events or bad luck happening at the wrong time, but there are moments in life when the path becomes difficult not because you are being punished but because you are being prepared for something greater than you can currently imagine, and preparation often feels like pressure, it often feels like confusion. And sometimes it even feels like everything around you is falling apart, but the truth is that sometimes things fall apart so that something better can be built in their place. Right now you might be standing in the middle of a chapter of your life that does not make sense yet, a chapter where the answers are not clear and the future feels uncertain. But what you cannot see from where you are standing is the bigger picture that God is slowly putting together behind the scenes, because while you are worrying about how things will work out tomorrow, God is already arranging the pieces of a story that will make sense later. And one day you will look back at this exact season of your life and realize that the moment you thought everything was going wrong was actually the moment when everything was quietly being set in motion. There is also something else you need to understand today, and it is something many people never realize until much later in life, which is that not every delay means denial. Sometimes a delay is simply protection from the wrong opportunity, the wrong relationship, or the wrong direction that could have taken you away from the life you were truly meant to live. And although waiting can feel frustrating and confusing, sometimes the waiting period is exactly what keeps you safe from something that would have hurt you more than you realize. Think about the things you once wanted so badly that did not work out, the doors you hoped would open that remained closed, the plans that suddenly changed even though you believed they were perfect for you. At the time those moments might have felt like disappointments, but what if those closed doors were actually silent acts of protection? What if the path you were prevented from taking was leading somewhere that would have caused more pain than peace? And what if the delays you are experiencing right now are actually part of a timing that is much more precise than you can see from your current perspective? Because the truth is that timing changes everything. Something that arrives too early can become a burden instead of a blessing, and something that arrives too late can feel like a missed opportunity, but when something arrives at the exact moment it was meant to happen, it becomes a turning point that transforms everything that follows, and that is why sometimes God slows things down. Not to frustrate you but to make sure that when the right moment arrives you are fully ready to step into it. And if you have been feeling recently like something is shifting in your life even though you cannot explain it yet, if you have felt moments where your intuition whispers that change is coming even though your current situation still looks the same, then there is a reason for that feeling, because long before a new chapter becomes visible on the outside it begins quietly on the inside. And the sense that something is about to change is often the first sign that a new season is approaching. There are people who will scroll past this message without feeling anything at all. They will see the words but they will not feel the meaning behind them, and that is exactly why this message was not meant for everyone. It was meant for the person whose heart recognizes something familiar in these words, the person who has been searching for reassurance that their journey is not meaningless and their struggles are not wasted. And if you are still listening right now, then maybe your heart already knows that this message arrived for a reason. Because sometimes the moment when you feel the most uncertain is actually the moment right before something begins to change. Sometimes the moment when your strength feels the weakest is the moment when a new kind of strength is about to rise inside you. And sometimes the moment when you start questioning everything is the moment when the answers are already on their way. And that is why this message needed to reach you today, not yesterday and not tomorrow, but today, in this exact moment when you might have been wondering whether the effort you have been putting into your life is worth it, whether the dreams you still hold inside your heart will ever become reality, and whether the road you are walking is actually leading somewhere meaningful. God wants you to know that the story of your life is not finished yet. The chapter you are currently living is not the final one, and the struggles you have been facing are not the ending of your journey but part of the process that is shaping the person you are becoming. Because the truth is that some of the strongest people in the world are the ones who had to walk through the darkest seasons before they discovered their purpose, and the courage you have been building during your difficult moments is the same courage that will one day allow you to step into opportunities that once seemed impossible. And right now, even if you cannot see it clearly, something is quietly moving in your favor behind the scenes. And even though it may not feel like it yet, even though the circumstances around you might still look exactly the same as they did yesterday, there is a shift that has already begun to take place, a quiet movement in the unseen places where God prepares what the human eye cannot yet recognize. Because the truth is that long before a breakthrough appears in your life, it begins as a decision in heaven. Long before doors open in front of you, they are first unlocked in places you cannot see, and long before your situation changes on the outside, something begins to transform within you, shaping your thoughts, strengthening your spirit, and preparing your heart for the moment when everything finally starts to make sense. You may have been feeling lately like you are walking through a season where nothing seems to move forward, where progress feels slow and every step requires more effort than it used to, and sometimes during moments like these people begin to doubt themselves. they begin to question whether they are on the right path or whether they have somehow missed the opportunity that was meant for them. But what you need to understand is that some of the most important seasons of life are the ones that feel the quietest, because growth does not always happen in the spotlight, transformation does not always happen where everyone can see it, and preparation often takes place in silence. Think about a seed buried beneath the soil. When someone looks at the ground from the outside, they might think nothing is happening there. They might assume the earth is empty and lifeless, but beneath the surface something incredible is taking place. The seed is breaking open, roots are beginning to spread, and the foundation for future growth is quietly forming where nobody else can witness it. And in many ways your life might feel like that seed right now, hidden beneath the surface of circumstances that seem ordinary or even difficult. Yet beneath everything you can see God is creating the roots that will support the next stage of your journey. There are also moments when life separates you from certain people, certain environments, and certain expectations that once felt permanent, and at first those changes can feel painful because humans naturally hold on to what feels familiar. But sometimes the reason certain connections fade away is not because you failed but because your path is changing direction. And not everyone who started the journey with you is meant to walk beside you forever. Some people are only meant to be part of a specific chapter, and once that chapter ends, their role in the story quietly closes. It is easy to misunderstand those moments as rejection, but many times what feels like rejection is actually redirection, a gentle but powerful shift that moves you away from what is comfortable and toward what is truly meant for you, even if you cannot fully understand it at the time. And although it might feel lonely when certain people or situations disappear from your life, sometimes those spaces are necessary so that new opportunities and new relationships can enter without being crowded by what no longer belongs in your future. You might also have noticed that recently your perspective on certain things has started to change. Maybe situations that once upset you no longer affect you in the same way. Maybe you have started to see people more clearly than before, or maybe you have begun to realize that some of the goals you once chased are no longer the ones that truly matter to your heart, and that kind of shift does not happen by accident. It happens because you are growing, evolving, and becoming someone who is ready for a different level of life. Growth often requires letting go of versions of yourself that once felt comfortable but no longer match the person you are becoming, and although change can feel uncomfortable, it is also a sign that your life is moving forward instead of standing still, and sometimes the very things that once defined you begin to fade away so that something stronger and more authentic can take their place. There will always be people who misunderstand your journey, people who only see the surface of your life and assume they know your story, but the truth is that nobody else fully understands the path you have walked, the battles you have faced, or the strength it took for you to reach the point where you are today, and that is why it is important not to measure your progress by someone else's expectations, because the timeline of your life is unique and the purpose you carry cannot be compared to anyone else's journey. Some days you may still feel tired, some days the weight of everything you have been carrying may feel overwhelming, and there may even be moments when doubt tries to whisper that things will never truly change, but doubt is not the voice that defines your future. It is simply a passing shadow that appears when the road ahead is not yet fully visible, and shadows only exist where there is light nearby. What you cannot see right now is how many small details are quietly aligning in your favor, conversations that will happen at the right moment, opportunities that will appear when you least expect them, and doors that will open in ways you could never have planned on your own, because sometimes the path forward is not revealed all at once but one step at a time, each step appearing only after you have the courage to take the previous one. And perhaps the most powerful thing you need to remember today is that the strength you have been building during this difficult season is not temporary, it is becoming part of who you are, shaping your character, deepening your understanding, and preparing you to handle blessings that once might have overwhelmed you if they had arrived too soon. There are people who receive opportunities before they are ready and lose them just as quickly as they arrived, but when something comes into your life after a period of preparation, it becomes something you can sustain, protect, and grow, and that is why sometimes God allows the waiting to continue longer than we would prefer, because a blessing that arrives at the wrong time can turn into a burden, but a blessing that arrives at the right time becomes a foundation for the future. So if you have been wondering whether your patience is worth it, whether your persistence matters, and whether the effort you continue to make in your life will ever lead somewhere meaningful, the answer is yes, even if the results are not visible yet, because some of the most important transformations in life happen slowly, quietly, and beneath the surface until the moment finally arrives when everything that has been building suddenly becomes visible all at once. And when that moment comes, you will realize that the waiting was not wasted, the struggles were not meaningless, and the message that found you today arrived exactly when it needed to. And as you continue walking through this season of your life, there is something important you must remember, something that many people forget when life becomes uncertain. And that is the simple truth that the chapter you are currently living in does not define the entire story of who you are meant to become. Because life is not a single moment frozen in time, it is a journey filled with transitions, lessons, redirections, and unexpected breakthroughs that appear when the time is right. And even though the path in front of you may feel unclear right now, that does not mean the destination has disappeared, it simply means that you are in the middle of a process that is still unfolding. There have been nights when you lay awake thinking about everything that has happened, replaying conversations, wondering if you could have done something differently, questioning whether certain choices were mistakes or whether certain opportunities slipped away forever. And the mind has a powerful way of traveling backward into moments that cannot be changed. But what you must understand is that your past was never meant to be a prison that traps you, it was meant to be a teacher that strengthens you, because every experience you have lived through has added another layer of wisdom to the person you are becoming. Even the moments that felt like failure carried lessons that are shaping your future right now. Even the times when you felt misunderstood helped you learn how to stand on your own strength, and even the seasons when you felt alone were quietly teaching you how to build a deeper connection with your purpose and your faith. Because sometimes the greatest clarity in life appears only after confusion has forced you to look deeper than the surface. There are also times when the world around you seems to move forward while you feel like you are standing still, when you watch others achieving goals, reaching milestones, or celebrating successes while you are still waiting for your own breakthrough to arrive, and in those moments comparison can begin to steal your peace, making you believe that you are somehow falling behind in life. But the truth is that life was never designed to be a race between different people, because every person carries a different calling, a different timeline, and a different set of experiences that will lead them to the place they are meant to reach. Your journey cannot be measured by someone else's progress because the road you are walking was never meant to look exactly like theirs, and sometimes the reason your path seems slower is because the purpose waiting for you requires a stronger foundation, a deeper understanding, and a level of strength that can only be built through patience and perseverance. Right now you may only see the effort, the waiting, and the uncertainty, but there will come a day when the results of this season begin to appear, and when that moment arrives you will realize that the path you walked was preparing you for something that required exactly the person you have become through every challenge you have faced. There is also something powerful about the way God works in silence, because not every miracle announces itself with noise and sudden change. Sometimes the most life-changing moments arrive quietly, almost gently, as if the universe itself is whispering rather than shouting, and those quiet shifts often begin within your own heart before they ever appear in your circumstances. You may have already started noticing small signs that your mindset is changing, that your focus is becoming clearer, that your ability to handle difficulties is stronger than it used to be, and those small internal changes are often the first evidence that something larger is already in motion. When a person grows internally, their external world eventually begins to reflect that transformation, because the way you see yourself, the way you approach challenges, and the way you believe in the possibility of your future all influence the direction your life begins to move. And the truth is that the strength you have been building during this season will not only help you survive difficult moments, it will also help you recognize opportunities that you might have overlooked before, because sometimes the difference between someone who misses a blessing and someone who receives it is simply the ability to recognize it when it arrives. There will be moments ahead when new doors begin to appear in places you did not expect, conversations that lead to opportunities you never planned, and ideas that suddenly open paths you had not considered before, and when those moments come it will not feel like coincidence. It will feel like the natural continuation of a journey that has been quietly preparing you for a long time. But preparation also requires trust, the kind of trust that allows you to continue moving forward even when the road is not fully visible, the kind of trust that reminds you that the absence of immediate answers does not mean the absence of direction, and the kind of trust that understands that sometimes the most meaningful destinations are reached step by step rather than through sudden leaps. So if today you find yourself questioning whether you are truly moving towards something meaningful, if there are moments when you wonder whether the struggles you have endured will ever turn into something positive, remember that the process you are walking through right now may be shaping a future that you cannot yet fully imagine. Because the story of your life is still being written, and every day that you choose to keep going, every moment that you refuse to give up, and every step you take forward despite uncertainty becomes another line in a story that is far from finished. And sometimes the most powerful turning point in a person's life begins with something as simple as a message that appears at exactly the moment they needed to hear it. And now as this message slowly comes to its end, there is one final thing you need to hear, something that may feel simple but carries a deep truth, and that truth is that you did not arrive at this moment by accident, because every step of your journey, every challenge you faced, every delay that tested your patience, and every moment when you wondered if things would ever change has been quietly leading you to the person you are becoming today. Sometimes life places us in seasons that feel uncertain not because we are lost but because we are being guided towards something we cannot yet fully see, and the truth is that many of the greatest turning points in life begin in moments that look ordinary on the surface, moments when nothing dramatic appears to be happening, yet beneath the surface everything is slowly shifting into place. You might still have questions about the future, You might still wonder how certain situations will resolve, and you might still feel moments of doubt when the road ahead feels unclear, but the fact that you are still moving forward, still searching for meaning, and still holding on to hope even when things feel difficult is already a sign of the strength that exists within you. There are people who give up when life becomes confusing. There are people who stop believing when answers do not arrive quickly, but you are still here, still listening, still searching for something deeper than what appears on the surface, and that alone says something powerful about the person you are. The truth is that many of the blessings meant for your life are not random events that appear without purpose. They are the result of patience, perseverance, and the quiet determination to keep walking even when the journey feels long, and sometimes the moment when everything begins to change is closer than you realize. Right now there may be things in your life that feel unfinished, questions that remain unanswered, and dreams that still seem distant, but unfinished does not mean impossible and waiting does not mean forgotten, because the story of your life is still being written one chapter at a time. And one day you will look back at this season and realize that the moments you thought were delays were actually moments of preparation. The challenges that once felt heavy were shaping your strength, and the uncertainty you once feared was quietly guiding you toward a path that was always meant for you. So take a deep breath and remember this simple truth: the message you heard today was not meant for everyone, it was meant for the person who needed a reminder that their journey still matters, that their strength has not gone unnoticed, and that their future is still full of possibilities that have not yet been revealed. Because sometimes all a person needs is a single moment of reassurance to keep moving forward, and if this message reached you at the exact moment when you needed it, then maybe it was never just a coincidence after all. The next chapter of your life is still waiting to unfold. Sparkles.